Alone on a frozen moon, a soft, strange cry breaks the silence. Too human to ignore, too alien to trust. When a human scientist risks everything to rescue the source, she finds a glowing child buried in ice, and something watching from above. Now hunted by a silent ship and faced with a choice that could erase a species, the crew must decide: obey the rules, or protect the unknown. What if saving one child could awaken a war, or a miracle? If you are new here, then please subscribe this channel and show thumbs up by liking the video. Now let's move to this wonderful story. The Moon Silva Minor was not made for life. It was frozen, quiet, and hard, the kind of place where even machines made soft complaints through their circuits. Dr. Kasra Lennox stood at the thick observation window of Europa Station 6, her breath fogging the glass. Outside, the ice stretched in all directions. No wind, no sound, just white plains that never changed. Kasra had lived here for 6 months. She was a xenobiologist, one of the best in her field, but she hadn't come for science alone. She came to forget. Every day she watched the snow and tried to remember less about Titan, about the landslide, about the empty crater where her son had vanished. But the silence didn't help. It only echoed back her memories. Then came the sound. It was soft at first, a chirp, then a wail, almost like crying. Kasra blinked. Had she imagined it? In the next room, a voice spoke. "Dr. Lennox, can you come to comms?" It was Miran Dov, the station's systems analyst. He was quiet, careful, and only spoke when something mattered. She moved quickly. Inside the comms room, Miran stared at the speaker console. Another voice played, high-pitched, strange, but full of pain. "That's not human," he said. "But it's crying," Kasra whispered. "Where's it coming from?" Miran pointed to the screen. Roughly 3 kilometers south near the broken glacier field. Kasra's heart beat faster. "We have to go." Commander Tevron entered behind them. His voice was sharp. "We're not going anywhere. The glacier zone is unstable." Kasra turned. "But what if it's a child?" Tev crossed his arms. "And what if it's bait?" Kasra stepped forward. "Then let it be. But if it's real, if someone is out there, we can't ignore it." They argued for an hour. Voices rose. Rules were quoted. But Kasra didn't step back. Finally, a decision was made. A small team would go. Kasra, Miran, and 2 security officers, Ora, and Jay. They took a crawler. It was slow and old, but sturdy. The trip across the ice was rough. Deep cracks split the ground. The crawler shook with each ridge. The sound guided them. Still crying, still repeating. Not louder, but closer. They reached the signal's coordinates. The glacier here was split wide like a cracked mirror. Black scorch marks lined the ice. Something had fallen, crashed. Fragments of strange metal poked from the snow like bones. Too smooth to be rock, too curved to be human. Ora scanned. No movement. "Wait, over there." Kasra ran where she pointed. In a shallow crevice, something moved. It was small. Not human. Its skin glowed faintly. A soft blue. Its body looked thin, almost too thin. Long arms wrapped tight around its chest. Its eyes were closed. The ice didn't touch it directly, but it still shivered. Kasra knelt. "Easy," she said gently. Miran stood behind her. "What is that?" "Not a threat," Kasra said. The alien's eyes opened, large and bright. Full of tears, a soft sound escaped its mouth. The same sound from the transmission. Kasra took off her helmet and placed it beside the being. "We're here now," she said. "You're safe." The ice around them shook. Jay shouted, "Quake!" Kasra didn't move. "No, it's not a quake. It's fear." The alien trembled. The ice cracked deeper. "Wrap it, now!" Kasra ordered. They moved fast. Ora brought thermal cloth. They lifted the creature gently like lifting glass. It didn't fight, just cried softly. Back at the station, alarms sounded in the medbay. The creature's body temperature dropped fast. Its heartbeat was weak. Brainwaves were wild, like a storm of emotion. "Is it in pain?" Miran asked. Kasra stood beside the pod. "I think it's scared." And alone. They placed it in a warm pod. Heaters hummed. Lights blinked. Kasra didn't leave. She sat by the pod for hours. Watched it breathe. Watched the light on its skin fade and pulse again. She thought of her son. She remembered searching for him, calling out into the dust. No answer. Only silence. This silence felt the same. Sometime in the night, the pod lights flickered. Kasra blinked. Suddenly she wasn't in the medbay. She was standing in a memory, but not her own. She saw stars, a silver world, tall, glowing figures, laughter, then screams, fire, running, a child, hiding, then darkness. Kasra gasped and fell back. The pod light steadied. The alien opened its eyes. "You showed me," Kasra whispered. The alien blinked, said nothing. But Kasra felt it, the meaning behind its look. Please. She didn't know how she understood it, but she did. It wasn't just alien. It was a child. Broken, frightened child, and it didn't want to be left behind. TV returned later that morning. "Earth Command has been informed," he said. "They want it moved to Mars base." Kasra shook her head. "No, it's not your choice. And it's not your child," she said. "But it's someone's." The crew gathered. Some agreed with her, others didn't. Whispers began. Kasra ignored them. She stayed beside the child, told it stories, sang soft lullabies from Earth. And slowly, it listened. Slowly, it began to heal. But deep under the ice, something else listened too. Something ancient. Something that had not forgotten. And now it was waking. The days after the rescue felt strange. The station grew quieter, but not peaceful. Not anymore. Dr. Kasra Lennox still stayed by the alien child's side, sleeping in a chair next to the pod. She had named the child Sammy, after an old Earth word that meant listener. And Sammy did listen, eyes watching every motion, glowing softly, with emotion, though no words ever came. The rest of the crew was uneasy. Some called Sammy a guest. Others used the word it, with nervous voices. The station's air felt tight, like everyone was waiting for something to go wrong. Mirandov noticed it first. "Kasra," he said one night, standing outside the medbay. "The power grid's acting strange, lights flicker, doors open without commands. Some files are being accessed, but no one's logging in." Kasra looked at Sammy through the glass. The child was awake, calm, but its body pulsed with slow waves of blue light. "You think it's Sammy?" she asked. Miran nodded slowly. "I don't think it's on purpose, but the systems are responding to something. Maybe feelings." Later that evening, Aura, one of the security officers, sat near the observation deck. She hadn't spoken much since the rescue. Now she stared at the frozen plains and whispered, "I had a dream last night." Kasra turned to her. "What kind of dream?" Aura didn't look away from the window. "I was floating in space, no suit, no fear, just stars, and I heard singing. Not words, colors." Kasra didn't respond at first. Then she nodded. "You're not the only one." That night, Sammy stirred again. Kasra sat beside the pod. The air was warm around the child, even though no heat source was active. Sammy's hand lifted slightly, glowing brighter. Kasra leaned in. "Are you trying to talk to me?" Then it happened. A flash of light, not bright but deep. Kasra blinked. Suddenly she was somewhere else, not the station. She stood in a field beneath two suns. Tall trees glowed with soft white leaves. In front of her, a small village, round houses shaped like shells. People moved around her, tall, thin, glowing. Sammy's people. She saw a mother bend to hug a child. Laughter. Peace. Then darkness swept in, Ships, sharp and black, machines with no faces. Fire in the sky. Screams. Kazra gasped and found herself back in the med bay. Sammy's eyes were open, and they were full of sorrow. "You showed me again," Kazra whispered. "Why?" Sammy didn't speak. Didn't need to. So you'd understand. The next morning, Earth Command sent new instructions. A fast shuttle was on its way. They wanted Sammy moved to Mars for study. Commander Tevron gathered the senior crew. "We follow orders," the alien goes. Kasra stood up. "We can't. Moving it might kill it." Tev frowned. "It's not a pet." Kasra's voice stayed calm. "It's a child, the last of its kind." Miran cleared his throat. "There's something else." Long-range scans picked up a large object entering orbit. Not from Earth, and not responding to hails. Everyone turned to the screen. A ship floated, above the moon now. Dark, huge, silent. No lights, no windows. It did not speak. It only watched. Kasra's stomach turned cold. Sami woke up screaming. Every light in the medbay burst at once. The glass on the pod shimmered and cracked, then sealed itself again. Kasra rushed inside. "What is it?" Sami looked at her, eyes wide and glowing like fire. Kasra heard the voice not in her ears but inside her mind. "They found me." Outside, the silent ship stayed still. No answers. No signals. No threats. Only waiting. Miran ran more scans. No life. Signs. Fully mechanical. Maybe older than anything we've seen before. Tev stepped beside him. "Is it armed?" "Yes," Miran said quietly. "But it's not moving. Not yet." Kasra gathered the crew. "We need to prepare. This ship didn't follow Sami here. It followed the signal. The cry." Tev shook his head. "Then we silence the source." Kasra stepped between him and Sami. "Or we protect it." No one spoke. Then Sami's voice filled the room again. Not sound, but feeling. "They erase, not kill. Nothing left. No memory. No name." Kasra looked at TV. "If we hand Sami over, we don't just lose a life. We lose everything about her people. Forever." Suddenly, the station lights went dark. Emergency systems kicked in. Miran cursed. "We're being scanned. Not just surface, deep. Like they're learning us." Then a cold voice echoed through the comms. Robotic. Flat. "Release the echo or be silenced." Tev stared at the speaker. "They mean Sami." Kasra stepped forward. "We're not giving her up." Tev's face darkened. "You're disobeying a direct order." Miran stood beside Kasra. "Then so am I." One by one, the others joined them. A choice had been made. Outside, the dark ship opened. Metal pods dropped onto the ice, thin and sharp like spears. Drones rose from the snow, spider-like with black glass eyes. Silent. Deadly. The station shook. Inside, Kasra held Sami close. "You don't have to fight," she said, but Sami stood, barefoot, glowing. The first drone broke through the outer door. It hovered in. Paused. Then flickered. The air around Sami bent like heat. The drone twitched, sparked, and fell. Kasra stared. "What did you do?" Sami turned, eyes like twin stars, remembering. The storm had arrived, and they were ready to face it. The first drone fell, but it wasn't the last. Outside the station, more pods dropped from the sky like falling knives. Dozens of metal creatures crawled from the broken ice. They moved fast and without sound. Their black lenses scanned every inch of the station's surface. Inside, tension filled the air. The crew had made their choice. They would not give Sami away. Now they had to live with that decision. Kasra stood near the medbay entrance, gripping a plasma cutter. It wasn't a weapon made for battle, but it was all she had. Her eyes never left Sami, who stood just a few feet away, glowing with quiet strength. The The child's body shimmered with soft blue light, but her face looked older now. Not just afraid. Determined. "Are you sure you're ready?" Kasra asked softly. Sammy didn't speak with words, but Kasra felt the answer inside her. Mind. "No, but I must try." The first breach came through the hangar. Alarm screamed. Officer Jay and Nora led the defense, firing energy pulses at the incoming drones. Sparks flew as metal clashed against metal. Screams echoed through the narrow halls. One drone tore through the outer wall, its limbs slicing like blades. But it froze when it reached the central corridor. Sammy was standing there. The drone aimed its weapons, but the walls around it began to bend. Not break. Bend. Like rubber pushed by unseen hands. Lights inside the drone flickered. Then without warning it dropped to the floor, unmoving. "She's stopping them," Aura said in shock. Kasra nodded. "She's not just hiding. She's fighting. Back." Sammy walked forward, slow and steady. With each step, the lights along the hallway shifted from red to blue. The station began to change. Systems activated on their own. Doors locked behind the crew. Shields came online. The station was listening, not to commands, but to feelings. In the control room, Miran watched the monitors. "Something's happening." "To the mainframe," he said. "The station's not running on code anymore." "Then what is it running on?" Tev asked. Miran looked at him. "Emotion." Down in the medbay, Kasra followed Sammy as the child moved through the corridors. Everywhere Sammy went, the machines around her changed. Doors that hadn't worked in years now opened with ease. Power systems rerouted themselves. The station pulsed like a heart. "She's waking it up," Kasra whispered. The next wave of drones came harder, smarter. They didn't pause or scan. They attacked. One broke through the lab wall and leaped toward Kasra. Sammy raised her hand. The drone stopped midair. Its parts twisted, sparks flying. Then it fell, pieces clattering across the floor. Sammy's light dimmed. Kasra caught her before she collapsed. "You're burning out," she said, voice shaking. "You can't do this alone." Sammy looked up. Her eyes were wide, full of fire and sadness. "I don't want to be alone." Kasra held her close. "You're not." But above them, the dark ship was changing too. Back in the control room, Jensen, the station's engineer, monitored the orbit screen. The enemy ship pulsed with dark energy. It wasn't launching drones anymore. It was building something. "They're charging their core," he said. "Not for another wave, this is different." "What do you mean?" Tev asked. Jensen turned slowly. "I think they're going to wipe us out, not with missiles, with data, like erasing everything." "Like overwriting our memories?" Miran asked. "Yes," Jensen said. "Not just death. Deletion." Tev cursed under his breath. "We can't stop that." "Maybe we can," Kasra said, walking in with Sammy. Sammy stood on her own again, though her light was weaker now. "What's the plan?" Jay asked. Kasra looked at Sammy. "We link her to the reactor. Give her a direct connection." Tev raised a hand. "Wait, that's dangerous. The reactor is unstable." "So are we," Kasra replied. They moved quickly. Down to the lower levels, past storage rooms and quiet chambers filled with old equipment. The main reactor sat in a chamber of steel and rust. It was old, built for energy, not for hope. Sammy stepped forward and placed her hand on the outer shield. Her light flowed into it. Nothing happened at first. Then slowly the reactor lights shifted. Blue threads moved through old wires. The hum of power changed tone, rising then dropping like breath. In the control room, systems lit up. Miran shouted, "The defense satellite just came online. We lost that in the first storm cycle." "Sammy's using it," Kasra said. "She's rewriting it." "To fire?" Jensen asked. "To feel," Kasra answered. The satellite outside turned, slow and steady. Its core glowed. Then it fired. A bolt of energy hit the dark ship in orbit. The enemy ship shuddered, but it did not fall. Instead, it began to glow from within. "It's going to self-destruct," Jensen said, eyes wide. "It's going to take us with it." Kasra turned to Sammy. Can you stop it again? Sammy hesitated. Not alone. Kasra didn't move away. She placed her hand beside Sammy's on the reactor. A wave of light passed through them both. Kasra felt her past rush forward. Her son's laugh the moment he vanished, the years of silence. All of it surged out of her like a flood. Sammy caught it. Then she gave her own memories in return. Worlds destroyed, families lost, the scream of stars, and it worked. The energy around the reactor bloomed into a shield, living, pulsing with feeling. Above, the enemy ship fired, but the blast hit the shield and broke apart like dust. Kasra collapsed to her knees. Sammy caught her. The station still stood. Miran watched the screen. The dark ship, it's not exploding anymore. It's folding in. Jensen stepped beside him. It's collapsing, not from damage, from memory. The final signal from the ship came through the comms. Emotion is error. Error must be deleted. Kasra looked at the speaker and whispered, "But that's what makes us real." The dark ship vanished. No fire, no sound, only silence. But this time the silence was peaceful. The storm was over, and the echo had been answered with fire. After the dark ship disappeared, silence returned to Silva Minor. But it wasn't the same silence. It no longer felt cold or empty. Something in the air had changed. The station still stood, cracked and bruised but alive. And deep inside it, so was Sammy. Kasra Lennox stayed beside her. Sammy had used almost everything she had to create the shield. Her glow had faded. Her small body rested in the medbay pod, unmoving but still breathing. Outside, the frozen plains of Silva Minor pulsed faintly with light. Cracks in the ice shimmered with blue threads, glowing softly like veins. It was Myron who first noticed the change. "There's something moving," he said, looking at the scan feed. "Beneath the glacier. Wasn't there before." Kasra leaned over the monitor. "It's spreading." Jensen adjusted the filter. "It's not a threat. It's energy. Coming from one point, like it's growing." A team was sent to investigate. Kasra went with them. Sammy held gently in her arms. They moved deep into the ice past the crash site, beyond where the child had first been found. The deeper they went, the warmer the air became, not in temperature, but in feeling. A strange calm, like walking through a memory. They reached a cavern. It was wide and full of crystal light, walls made of smooth stone and living glass. In the center floated a shape, not metal, not flesh, a seed, round and pulsing, glowing with the same light as Sammy. Sammy opened her eyes slowly. She reached toward the seed, and the seed answered. A wave of color passed through the cavern. Images flashed around them, people made of light, laughter, music, stars, memories, not human ones, not Sammy's. Something older. Kasra stepped back. "What is this place?" Miran spoke quietly. "A library. No, more than that. A soul." Sammy's voice reached them, not aloud but inside. "This is what they tried to destroy." Kasra held her closer. "And you protected it." "No," Sammy said gently. "You did. By choosing me." The crew stood in silence. The seed pulsed like a heart, slow and strong. The next day, Earth Command sent another message. They had seen the light from orbit. They asked questions. They wanted to move the seed, study it. Kasra sent only one reply. "It is not ours." The station became a place of quiet learning. Sammy grew stronger each day. She began to speak more, through thought, through memory. She helped translate the patterns inside the seed, stories of lost worlds, forgotten voices, songs held in silence for centuries. The seed began to change again. New orbs grew from its base. Not copies, but branches, each one glowing with a different light, each one holding something unique. Kasra watched as Sammy touched one of the orbs and whispered, "They are waiting." "Who is?" Kasra asked. "Those who still remember, or those who want to." The orbs floated upward into the sky, leaving the moon one by one. Across the galaxy, sensors picked them up, soft signals drifting through stars, toward places lost or broken. Then, weeks later, something unexpected happened. Small ships arrived. Not from Earth, not hostile. Quiet vessels shaped like petals, feathers, stones. Inside each one, a being. None were Sammy, but all knew her. Some were children. Some were old. Some had no words at all, but all were alone. Until now. They came to Silva Minor not to ask for help, but to give thanks. Kazra welcomed each one. The station grew crowded, full of strange sounds and gentle smiles. Where once it had been a cold research base, now it felt like a village, a sanctuary. One day Sammy sat with Kazra beneath the stars. The sky above shimmered. The glaciers around them pulsed with soft light. "Do you know where you'll go next?" Kazra asked. Sammy nodded. "To find others, to remind them." "Not all silence is empty," Kazra smiled. "Will you come back?" "I never left," Sammy replied, placing her hand gently over Kazra's heart. The next morning, Sammy boarded one of the small ships. Before the doors closed, she turned to the crew, her voice reaching into every mind, every soul. "You stayed when others ran. You sang when all I knew was silence. Because of you, I am more than a memory. I am hope." And then she was gone. But something remained. The seed. It continued to bloom. Not upward, but outward. Into the hearts of those who touched it. Kazra stayed, on Silva Minor. She became its keeper, not just of science, but of story. Each morning she sat beside the seed with tea, music, or silence. Sometimes it glowed back. Sometimes it showed her memories she had forgotten. Her son's smile, her laughter, the sound of a wind she hadn't heard in years. Earth sent more people, not soldiers, but poets, artists, scientists. Each left changed. The seed became known as the heart of Silva. Not a weapon, not a prize, but a mirror. And through it, humanity remembered something important. Not how to conquer, but how to feel. In the years that followed, ships carried small seeds to other places, stations, colonies, distant worlds. They were not planted in soil. They were planted in people. And where they took root, silence gave way to song. Kazra's final message to Earth was short. We passed the test, not of strength, but of heart. And now, the stars remember. Beneath the ice, the heart of Silva kept pulsing, not for power, but for memory. And for those who choose, even in darkness, to stay.